I recently suggested to one of my younger clients, who's already accumulated over $1 million in savings, that they start max funding a Roth IRA. Now, this person came back to me and said, well, look, the maximum contribution for 2023, last year, which we can still fund up until the tax deadline, it's only $6,500. Is this really going to be worth it over time? Well, I knew the number would be big, but I wanted to illustrate to this person what 30 years of max funding a Roth IRA would look like, assuming they earned 8% with an all-stock portfolio. And frankly, I was even surprised at how big the number was. And I was so surprised that I figured I'd make a video about it and share it with you. That's what we're talking about. Stick around. Now, I'm going to show you the numbers in just a second. Let me first touch on the assumptions that we're using here. Now, first and foremost, the annual contribution limits, I mentioned this already, for 2023, they're $6,500 if you're someone who's under 50. They're $7,500 if you're over 50. You get that extra $1,000, which is known as a catch-up contribution, if you're a little closer to retirement age. But I'm not including the catch-up contribution for purposes of illustration here. So if anything, the numbers that we're going to look at might be a little bit on the conservative side because of that. The other thing I want to point out with respect to the max contribution limits is they do adjust for inflation periodically. The way it works is the IRS adjusts them in $500 increments. And in fact, from 2023 to 2024, the max is going up by $500. So here in 2024, the maximum contribution is actually $7,000 for those under 50, and it's going to be $8,000 for those over 50. But of course, we don't know the trajectory of inflation. So what I'm doing instead is I'm just projecting this number out at 2.5% to reflect that this number will go up over time. We just don't know precisely what that will look like. And then, of course, the growth rate we're using is 8%. We're going to assume we're hanging on to an all-stock portfolio here. And frankly, if you look at some of the major market indices, such as the S&P 500, there are lots of rolling 30-year periods throughout history where the index has done well in excess of 8%. In fact, it's done in excess of 10% in numerous 30-year rolling periods. So long story short, well, my point is 8% is absolutely realistic with an all-stock portfolio. Now let's take a look at how the numbers play out. So again, year one up here, we're starting with a $6,500 contribution, and we're adding an 8% rate of return, or an 8% growth rate. Year two, we're inflating our max contribution limit by 2.5%, and then we're adding that to our year-end balance, and again growing that by 8%. Same thing in year three. Let's look out here to year 30. Take a look at this. Again, this was stunning to me. We get out here, you can see the max contribution limit out here in 30 years is over $13,000, but our year-end balance after 30 years is over $1 million. And again, this was even surprising to me, someone with a lot of finance background who understands the power of compounding. But it just illustrates how what seems like a relatively modest amount of money can expand into something that is very significant if you have a long enough time horizon in front of you. Pretty amazing numbers, right? So obviously, get out there, fund your Roth IRA. You have up until the tax deadline here to max fund for 2023. Look, I hope this one was interesting. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.